Okay, we're going to work on cover letters. You may see them or have heard of them referred to as job application letters. In order to follow along, please open up the cover letter PowerPoint, the cover letter rubric, the file called template, and then probably something similar to guidelines. There's about 4 things I want you to open so that you can go back and forth and toggle between them, as I need you to. Okay. Go ahead and get the PowerPoint open and loaded while I'm kind of setting up here, please. And then make sure you look towards me so I know that we're ready to begin. Cover letters are very important. Okay. The goal of your resume is to get an interview. Okay. The goal of your cover letter is still to get an interview. But this gives them a better understanding as to who you are, how you are with the written word, how good you are at selling yourself. Okay. The way I would do it, if I had a bunch of applicants for one position, I'd start skimming through the resumes. If you haven't turned me off by then I might make a pile and put your cover letter in it and read that later. It's kind of a sifting out step. Do you see that? Okay, because realistically, you're supposed to be able to look over a resume in mere moments. Okay, not a and through, but okay, your objective. Okay, here's where they go to school. Okay, what are they good at? Okay, look at the dates of their employment. That type. I mean, it's very quick. Boom, boom, because they have things to do. They're busy, and so they'll look you over, and then they'll move on into the the next stage if they want to know a little bit more about you prior to giving you an interview or not. And so they're pretty significant. And this is your opportunity to use the written word to make you to sell yourself better. Because remember, back on your resume, you only have that little objective to really showcase yourself. Okay. The rest are lists. Creative lists, you need to think about what is important and relevant and put that in there. But the objective is really about the only part of the resume that you write. Okay. Here, this whole thing is writing. We'll get into the format and what that looks like. It's a business letter. I think you've typed business letters before. I remember when I was in typewriting class, learning how to type, we had to transpose. Here's an example of a business letter. Copy it line by line. If there's 4 spaces, put in 4 spaces. If there's this date, all the formatting is the same. There is no creativity to the layout and the graphic design, like, or I guess unlike the other thing, the resume. Okay, so this is a letter. Okay, you start it the same as you would a letter, and you end it the same. Okay. Once you get those things open, please give me your attention. Should be no typing and such once we get going. The first thing we need to focus on, what cover letters should do, that very first slide of the PowerPoint. They're explaining why you're sending it. Okay, it's obvious you're applying for this job or internship or scholarship. You need to keep in mind who is your target. Okay, whenever we do writing, you always think of who is the intended audience that you're trying to get to. Okay, always think that. They're not the enemy. Okay, they have a job or jobs to award you to the best person. They have a position that they need to get filled, and they don't want to have to do this now and then 3 months later when that loser gets through because they cut corners early on. They want to focus on these particular job interviews, so they only have to do this once in a great long while. Okay? They want to give it to you. It's your job to show them that you are the person to get it. Don't send a resume without a cover letter. A lot of times people say, just send me a resume. Just send me the resume. Put a cover letter in there too. Okay? Because if they're telling everybody to send a resume, do you think everybody is? No. Yes, no, maybe. Any other potential? If they tell you to send a resume, send the resume, but send the cover letter too. Because probably not everybody is going to send a cover letter. Will you stand out? Will you be different? Yes, and that is a good thing. Can you stand out in a bad way? Yeah. Sometimes those are even more memorable, right? See, I like sports. Some of my favorite highlights of all time. Of course, they're game-winning plays, home runs. But don't you think I remember some of the bloopers? Why do you think they have shows for bloopers? Because people make mistakes. You know, you stand out, whether it's good or bad. What do you put? Because we're going to get going into what you put in the particular segments and stuff. You don't want the reader guessing. Well, maybe they have two positions that are open. Okay, maybe you're applying for one thing, but as they read, they figure out a better job for you. You know, it's happened. So you need to explain yourself, you know, what you're doing, okay, and we'll see in a moment to mention how you heard about it. You know, but ultimately, what's your goal? This is like your objective again, okay, but this is in the format of a letter. The next slide, tell specifically how you learned about the position, okay, or the organization. How did you hear about it? Okay, because if they published out in the newspapers and stuff, they probably have a lot of things. Just to, you know, I was looking in the newspapers in the classifieds and I stumbled across it. However, if you know somebody, you know, if another manager in another department, have you heard of name dropping before? Here's your opportunity. Hey, so-and-so recommended that I apply for this position. And you probably want to make sure that individual is in good standing in their company, because, you know, the person who's borderline going to get fired, you don't want to put down a shout out in your cover letter and say, oh yeah, man, we're close. Because they're probably thinking, oh, there's no way I'm going to hire you. But if they have some employee of the month or some great individual that they're on the fast track to greatness, and you're friends with them or whatever connection, dropping their name, it might add a little bit. Are you going to get the job because of it? Unless they're the boss, you know, you're dropping the boss's name, I doubt it. But are you memorable? Are you somebody they're going to think about? Maybe you instantly, oh, okay, well, I don't need to keep reading. We'll just give him an interview. Maybe it's just, or him or her, excuse me. You know, maybe that's something that, you know, who knows? Who knows who is in charge of these things? So that's why you got to sell yourself to the best of your ability. Sometimes, you see, each person's different. Do they read the resumes or the cover letters first? Who knows? There isn't a rule. You must read these first, or you will die. I mean, there is nothing and no rule like that. What I would do and what I've noticed most people doing, they look at the resume first. It's a lot quicker. And we can decide, nope, drop it, instead of spending 3 or 4 minutes reading a letter, right? Doesn't that make sense? So you can look at it both ways. You can look at it as a resume leads them into the cover letter, or if somebody just loved, maybe the cover letter's on top, and they read that first, like, oh, these are your qualifications? Okay, then let me look into your resume a little more. They kind of go hand in hand. That's why you want to send them together. Okay, send them together. Next one, what should cover letters have? Okay, they should call attention to elements of your background. Again, this is taking your lists from your resume and allowing you to put in more detail, allowing you to keep saying sell yourself, because I can't really think of a better term than that. Okay, you're promoting yourself, and so here are my skills. Boom. If they had a flyer advertising an online post, being Monster.com, FortWayneHelpWanted.com, or some classified section, they probably have a list of characteristics that they're looking for, or skills are required. Probably a good idea to hit on those and talk about how you excel at those. Now, don't lie and say you can run a forklift or certified for a forklift if you think, well, I mow my lawn on a riding mower, I surely can do a forklift. I can't speak to what it takes to run a forklift, but I'm pretty sure you need some sort of licensing for it and training. To mow your yard, not so much. Okay? Excuse me. So this is where you focus and call attention to specific elements. Provide or refer to any information specifically requested. That's what I was just mentioning. Any particular thing that you must have this, only these people will apply. Make sure you show them, hey, I do know how to do this. I am good at this. Look at my experience here. This translates. Okay? This is more of an interview. Again, okay? Remember, your resume is to get an interview. Yes, your goal of a cover letter is still to get an interview, but it's almost like you have their ear and you're on the phone with them. Now, you can't answer questions they have, but you anticipate what they want to know, and here's your chance to sell for 3 minutes straight. You think that's a good opportunity to have? Yeah. You have somebody's attention for 3 minutes? That's wonderful. Okay, so that's something you need to worry about and think about. Next slide. Most of that stuff will happen in the body, what I just talked about. Your introduction deals with how you heard about it, you know, who you are, that type of thing. The middle body section is why you're perfect for the job and your skill set. And then the conclusion is just that. You're wrapping it up. It's your, you know, what's happening next. Okay, some of these businesses might have 2 weeks that they're accepting applications. So March 1st to March 14th, 15th, we are accepting. We won't accept any after that. So you put in your stuff, you might not hear for a while. And in fact, you might not hear at all. Maybe you got discarded. Do you think you should just sit at home and wait? No. Go for it. How bad do you want this job? Send in, some of these are emails, some posts online, others you snail mail in. It would not be unforeseen to go, hello, my name is Bob Walsh. I just applied for your recent blah, blah, blah posting. I'm just calling to verify that you did receive it. Oh, well, that's very thoughtful of you. You must want this job. Thank you. We got it. All right. Thank you, and I'll be in touch. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. All of that. Okay, that's fine. Now, what if I call the next day? And then the next day? And then you might get on that short list of no's. Throw right into the trash, maybe. All right, he's a little too eager. You got a borderline. You want to show them that you're interested. Okay? It's kind of a game. You want to show them you're interested, but you don't want to be obnoxious about it. Okay? So calling and saying, you know, I'm just checking, blah, 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 is fine. But how do we do that in words? And that's where we see some examples down here. You know, I look forward to hearing from you. You know, I'll be in contact with you to see if there's anything else I can do for you. Any questions that need answered. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Here is my home number, my cell number, and my email address. Okay? And this is another one of those opportunities for you to put a lot of your personality, your manners, your etiquette into the conclusion. Just like we had it in the intro. Okay? You need to, the intro is the most important part, because if they're turned off there, they're not going to read, oh, but I had a great conclusion, they'll laugh. Okay, well, the rest of your thing stunk, so you need to do a better job keeping their attention throughout the whole thing. Okay? So the conclusion deals with, you know, wrapping that up and such. The format. Go to that slide, please. Much like your works cited or bibliography, you have certain rules, certain parameters. I'm going to show you a template in a little bit. It's very easy to follow. Okay, it's very easy to follow this. It's not hard at all. Okay. However, there is a certain way and a certain look for it. Okay, you must follow that. You know, they're only 1 page long, so a page and a half? No. Just like your resume. So you're sending them 2 things, and each is a page long, so there should be 2 pieces of paper. You want them on the same quality paper. Don't use the, you know, have you ever used any paper that on one side, you're like, okay, well, that's junk, so, oh, I can still print on this side. So you feed it back through your printer. You ever tried to do that? Probably don't want to send that in like that. Make sure it's good paper. You know, basic common sense, that type of thing. It's single-spaced. Okay, most of your writings for classes are double. Do you know why they're double? To take up more space. Teachers don't care how long it is.
Easier to read.
It's easier to read. For editing purposes, it's a lot easier to write above or below your line. Because if it's all single space, can we really write in there? No, you'd have to line, arrow, right over here. You're going to have tons of arrows in your margins. And so here it's a lot easier to circle something and write it. However, for this, it's not meant to be graded. It's meant to get you a job, an internship, something. And so we have it being single-spaced. Okay. Don't forget that. I saw some people in the other class not following along. A reintroduction into what, the three parts. You have your intro, your body, your conclusion. What's the intro? You see that it's the most important part. You only have a few seconds to grab them and hold them on. And so you want to do a really good job. That leads you into the body, which is, pretty significant. Okay, if they are getting this far, they're interested in you. Okay, you need to make sure that their time is not wasted. Here are the things that I can do and I'm good at. Here's my experience. You sell yourself. And then ultimately in the conclusion, like I talked about, I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks very much for your consideration and time. I will be in touch. Please feel free to contact me if there's anything else I can do. Okay? And I'll be calling in the next couple of days just to verify that you've received this. Something like that. And this is one of those times where you can be like a wordsmith and come up with something that's unique and such. Okay? Always be professional in your look of your stuff as well as in the content. Tone, the last slide. I just said that. Should be professional. Okay? You want to be focused. It all depends on what you're going for. Is humor appropriate? Humor, I would say just be careful. Okay? Because what you think is funny, the recipient might not think it's funny. And sometimes it's hard to get humor across in words, Have you ever seen a comedian, a stand-up? Sometimes the words are funny, but isn't it usually compounded with their delivery, their facial features, their expressions, their body antics, whatever it is? Okay? And they don't know you. They don't know what you look like. Yes, humor can still translate, but yet they might miss. And do you want to take that risk? Do you want to take the risk of offending them? So it's probably safer to just leave that out and just strictly be professional. Now at the interview, is it okay to smile and joke around? If it's appropriate, if you've got a good vibe from that individual, okay? When I applied here at Carroll forever ago, they saw that I used to be a baseball coach. And one of the guys I was applying for his job, he was leaving. He was a baseball coach for Wildcat Baseball too. And so we joked about that and talked about that. And it came out that I was a White Sox fan. And a former assistant principal who was in on it, he was baseball. I said, oh yeah, who do you like? And he said the Yankees. And so I started making fun of the Yankees, being a White Sox fan. Because I could just tell from the conversation that, a sports-minded person, and I could tell that, and he said he had coached ball at one time, so I knew he was knowledgeable, and I believe I'm very knowledgeable in baseball. And so I was able to talk to him about the pitching rotation, about how that's going to fall apart. You're not going to make the playoffs. The White Sox, they're going to go all the way this year. Just back and forth, that type of thing. And I don't know, I doubt that got me the job, but they got to see a little bit more about my personality. Okay? Is it appropriate to joke around at times? Case-by-case basis. Okay? Case-by-case basis. Go ahead and open up the template, since we were just talking about formats. I think you'll like this template because it's written out in the manner with which yours is going to look like. Notice the spacing. If there's 2 spaces there, yes, yours needs to be 2 spaces. Okay? Notice the salutation, the greeting. Okay? Notice the body paragraphs. Read that first paragraph. Doesn't it tell you what first paragraphs are supposed to include? Now, don't think, well, I'm going to have a 1-sentence paragraph because that's a 1-sentence paragraph. No. Okay? Outside of the lengths of the paragraphs, everything else needs to be the same. But with that, this is where you do your writing. That's where you do your intro and grab them. The body, you can see how that's telling their employer why you should be the person. And then the final paragraph there is your closing. Then your goodbyes and so on. They use sincerely. Okay, you can look up and find other ones. Cordially. Thank you for your time. Those type of words. With regards, with respect. Just different things you've heard and probably seen and used. Notice the few lines there of blank where your handwritten signature would be. For your cover letter, why don't you just type your name in there, okay? And then maybe find a nice cursive font, which would simulate your signature. Now, when you send this for real, you will actually handwrite. Okay, that's personalized. It shows you took the time to actually touch that piece of paper and give it your autograph. But for the purpose of our assignment, just put in some sort of cursive font that you find. But at the bottom, you do have your typed name there. Okay, so on your screen, you're going to have two typed names. One's normal and one's not. Okay, we don't use crazy fonts throughout the body of this. It's all Times New Roman, as the PowerPoint said, or Arial. Some other Georgia might be okay. Calibri is not the new default for some of these word programs. Those. Don't go looking for wingdings. The calligraphy type thing. That's just stupid. You wouldn't do that. I couldn't imagine somebody doing that because you can't read it. Anyway, so follow this very, very closely. Now, I want to focus one last thing on this template before I go. Where it says the Mr. and Mrs. recipient's full name. Okay? This is going to be different for each and every person. At whatever company, at whatever college, whatever you're doing, this goes to somebody. This is going to take some research on your part. You might have to get online to look up and figure out where you want to go. Where's this going? And it might just be the Director of Human Resources. Okay? That's who usually does personnel. Okay? That's who posts the hirings, that type of thing. If you can find a name of a head of a department, if you're going to apply at a fast food place, can you find the store manager? Can you find the... Okay? I'm challenging you. I just don't want you to put John Smith. I want you to try to... Okay? And I stressed this the other day, but I really want you to take advantage of this as whatever job you're in right now. Are you going to retire from this job? Probably not. Somebody was dead serious for DQ, and that's where I'm going to stay. I'm like, okay. Well, let's just, for the sake of argument, say you are. Are you going to stay slinging soft serve until you're 65? Or do you want to be promoted? Why do you want to be promoted? Well, to what? Well, a store. Great. Do you want to own them or run them? Oh, own them. Okay, so you want to run a franchise. Okay, running a franchise means you just put up the money. You don't have to apply. Okay? Well, I guess there's paperwork and stuff you have to go through. But if you have the money, they'll probably let you do it. Let's just say you want to go and be the store manager. There's going to be an interview process for that. Okay? They'll open it, and they'll have people submit stuff. He goes, really? I said, more than likely. Unless DQ is unlike other national, worldwide companies. It's pretty, straightforward. And so he goes, okay, well, who do I send to? So he had to get on and find information about, look for your district manager. Who's in charge of this quadrant of Fort Wayne and all their DQs? You see what I'm kind of getting at? So whatever, wherever you are at in your life, what's that next step? What's the next thing you want or that you are going to do? Spring? Maybe after baseball's done, maybe in the summer. Okay, what's that looking like? And that's who you should be directing these to and towards. So you're going to have to do some searching. Any questions on that? You may not be able to find a name. I would love it if you could. If you can't, Human Resources. Director of Human Resources. Just leave it like that. Okay, but you will have to find out where you're going to send this stuff to. Some of them will be emails and online postings. But you're still going to have to put that contact information because once it gets there, they're going to have to route it to certain people. So if you can find a name or an address, definitely include that. Okay? The cover letter guidelines page. Again, this kind of just bullet points and nice little kind of Spark Notes version of our PowerPoint. Kind of skim through this again to see what should be in the first section, the second, and the third. What I need to convince my readers. This is something you've got to come back to. As you're writing, or you think, okay, I'm done with my draft, go back, pull this up and go, am I doing this? I've done 3 of these 4. That's good enough. Is it? It's a competition. Okay? It's a competition for whatever you're applying for. You aren't the only one that's going to apply for it. I can almost guarantee that. Especially if economies are bad when that time comes. So go back and how can I address these? Maybe I can, and this is the revision stage. So you're not there yet. You need to write the thing first. And then you see what I need to elaborate on, what I need to pull back from. Does that make sense so far? Okay? This writing, guys, these writings should be the easiest writings because you're writing about your favorite subject. Me, right? Well, you're not writing about me. You're writing about yourself, right? You don't have to do research for that. You know it. You know what you are. You know what you can do. Sell yourself. And that's what we're pushing in these two, in this writing and the resume. So there is a 2-page part, so make sure you go through that, okay? That will be very helpful. Lastly, your cover letter rubric. Pull that up, please. You will see some wording very similar, near identical to what your the rubric for your resume was. Again, spend time. I cannot stress this enough, guys. This is your answer key. This rubric is the answer key. It's not, I read your paper and go, oh, 68%. Oh, 72%. Oh, 84%. You might think that's what it is. It's not. I look at the rubric. I figure out, are you more of a 2 or a 3 or a 4 on this ideas? Same with your organization, blah, blah, blah. Then overall, I kind of add them up. You see the conversion table there? That's how your percentages get figured out. Okay? So if you come back with a B, you're like, okay, well, I was mostly 3s. Okay? That's how it works. I guess technically you could be all 4s and 2s and it averages out, but I have yet to see that. Where you are beyond excellent on half of them and then you are average, borderline poor. So that doesn't happen. So if you get Bs in the B range, you're pretty good. You're solid. You're doing what you're supposed to. But you need to take it to the next level. And that's where once we identify that, we can focus on those key things. Okay? Pick any 2 numbers in a particular category and look at how the wording is just different. Okay? If you do a good job, that's a 3, guys. That's a B. Great. If you're average, yeah, you had some good. It was okay. But look at the ideas and word choice. Sometimes it wasn't very sincere. It just seemed like you were just going through the paces and the motion. Oh yeah, I don't like to write. That makes sense. I just put it out there. Okay, well then that's not with a lot of voice and word choice, and you're probably going to get a 2. Okay, a 3 is good job. It looked like you had some passion there. It looked like you did what you were supposed to do, and I can relate to what you're saying now. I hear you. And a 4 is just beyond. Okay, so get in that mindset. Get in that mindset with regards to the rubric. Okay.